up your YouTube, search for Stukeley Meadows, watch on your big screen. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, what a happy scene. Something new every day for your long-term memory. This is so exciting, it is nearly time for a Stukeley assembly. Good morning everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday reading assembly. For each other we, every day we, to improve we, together we will. Every single Stukeley day we focus on. Our Stukeley motto is, our Stukeley curriculum is. And 4 words that make the magic happen. Right, I know I say that I'm really excited a lot, but I am really excited today because we've got the next part of the Mr. Gum story, and I'm not sure I know where it's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope that Jake the dog's okay. I hope that Friday and Polly are okay. But I also hope Mr. Gum's okay, because I don't want him to keep getting whacked by the angry fairy. Anyway, before we get into the story, having a little look up here, we are going to have a bit of author chat in a moment. We're then going to go through the story plan. We're going to read probably almost to the end. I think we're nearly there. Then, Cheer Boo Song or Silence. It's an absolute classic today before we finish off with shout outs and other bits. Right, very quick author challenge today. Very quick author challenge. Last week, I asked you to pause the video and write down as a class as many different authors as you could. Today, this is interesting, I think. Today, you're going to pause the video and you are going to try and think of exactly the same authors as last week, but in the same order. Can you remember them in the same order as last week? Can you remember who said who? Can teachers write them down like last week? And then when you've done that, can you add any more? Pause the video, do that task, see you on the other side. Right, I don't know how many you got and if they're in the right order, but when I come round this morning to see you, it'll be interesting to find out if you were able to remember everything from last week and more. Okay, it's time for Mr. Gum. I don't think, do you know what, we might get it finished today. If that's going to happen, I need to hammer through it. So, very, very quickly, Mr. Gum, beautiful garden, horrible man, horrible house. The garden's only beautiful because the angry fairy said that Mr. Gum had to keep it beautiful. If not, whack! Jake the dog, big whopper dog. Everyone loves Jake apart from Mr. Gum because Mr. Gum's garden gets wrecked by Jake. And if it gets wrecked, Mr. Gum gets whacked. Loads of wrecking, loads of whacking. Mr. Gum has a plan. He's going to poison the dog. He's going to kill the dog. He gets some disgusting meat, some cow's hearts. They stink. He's going to get the dog to eat them, and then he'll kill the dog. He sits on this chest, not going to mention it. Polly, little girl, long name, we call her Polly, meets Friday O'Leary, a mysterious man. We're not quite sure what's going on, but we know that Polly has heard Mr. Gum's plan. Then Mr. Gum goes to the sweet shop, meets Mrs. Lovely. He realises that he needs something to get the meat to smell appealing, so he gets some lemon sherbety stuff. We then meet Polly and Friday O'Leary again. They've gotten together, they've decided to go and thwart Mr. Gum. But at that time, unfortunately, Mr. Gum's already got Jake in the garden. Jake has eaten the cow's hearts. Ugh, disgusting. Jake has collapsed. While that's happening, Polly and Friday have gotten ready to go and save the day. Friday O'Leary keeps getting confused, thought he was playing tennis. He wasn't. He gets on his bike. They fly along, drive along quickly. When they're driving there. Billy William III, the butcher, comes out and starts throwing disgusting meat at them. He doesn't manage to stop them, and when we finished last week, we finished on this sentence. The two of them rode on in silence, and soon they came to the high white fence that surrounded Mr. Gum's garden. Right, chapter 10, Jake's darkest hour. That doesn't sound good, does it? Here we go. Just like Jake, that fence caused Polly and Friday no trouble whatsoever. They just farted over it like blackbirds. More meddlers, griped Mr. Gum, dodging the angry fairy, who was back with a vengeance and, of course, the frying pan. Who needs it? The motorbike screeched to a halt in front of the oak tree. Polly jumped out of the sidecar and ran up to Jake, who lay on the lawn, surrounded by his loyal animal friends. The moles shook their heads, sadly. A squirrel blew its nose on a butterfly. The cats looked close to tears, for Jake was the only dog they had ever loved. Polly gasped when she saw him. That once splendid beast of a dog looked as weak as a baby. His fur had lost its shine, and his eyes were rolled towards the heavens. He was a mere shadow of his former self, and his shadow was a mere shadow of his former self's shadow. Don't die on us, Jake, she sobbed, throwing her arms around him. You're too fat and good to die. Jake's only reply was a feeble little which sounded like a door closing. If it hadn't been for that butcher, we could have got here in time, wailed Polly. Time? Said Friday mysteriously. What is time, little miss? 'Tis unwise to talk of what might have been and what might have not. 'Tis unwise. Polly was beginning to think that Friday was a pretty rubbish hero, but she had other things to worry about. What are we gonna do? She wailed. Just you wait, and everything will turn out fine, said Friday, tapping his nose wisely. Actually, Friday didn't have a clue what to do, but just then Mr. Gum raced up to them, chased by the angry fairy. It's no use, Mr. O'Leary, cried Mr. Gum, like the world's most evil seagull. That dog will never bother me again. We can still save him, wailed Polly, getting a bit more fierce. I don't think so, horrible little girl, said Mr. Gum. Look at this. He pointed to his own shirt, on which he had written, Champion Expert Dog Poisoner. That don't mean nothing, said Polly. You just writ them words in ketchup. That shut Mr. Gum up for a minute, because it was true. Said Friday O'Leary, bending down to investigate Jake, even though he was secretly a bit scared of dogs. Suddenly, he stood up, his imaginary detective's moustache back in all its glory. Tell me, Gummy, me boy, said Friday, twirling his invisible moustache. What is the one thing that can cure that big whopper of a dog there? Why, you know as well as I do, you crazy turkey, chuckled Mr. Gum. The only thing that can bring a dog back from the brink is the tears of a man reunited with his lost brother. And that's not going to happen, is it? So this is me, Mr. Singletary, talking now. Basically, the only way that Jake the dog can be saved is if a man cries because he's met a brother he never thought he'd had. and those tears of somebody meeting their brother might bring the dog back to life. Back to the book. Said Friday grandly. The tears of a man reunited with his long-lost brother? He said. Well, guess what, Mr. Gum? You are my long-lost brother, and I have a picture of us together when we were small. And when you grew older, you went over to the dark side and became a bad man and forgot all about me, your brother, who is a force of good. And now look at what you've been reduced to, poisoning a happy bounce from a dog just to avoid a whacking from a fairy, like the cowardly, bitter old thing you've become. And now that I tell you this amazing information, something inside you is bursting forth, and you are filled with love and compassion and dinner, and you cannot help but shed tears all over this bloomin' dog and wake up from its terrible sleep. The truth is a lemon meringue! Triumphantly, Friday handed Mr. Gum a battered old photograph from the old days. It showed Friday when he was a lad, standing next to another boy. That other boy is you, said Friday. Now bring on those tears. The animals gasped, and Polly clapped her hands together in delight. Mr. Gum peered closely at the photo. Nah, that ain't me, he said. We ain't long-lost brothers at all, you weirdo. Oh, said Friday. He turned to Polly miserably, his imaginary moustache drooping like an imaginary weeping willow. Well, little miss, he said softly, I did my best to save him. Suddenly it was all very quiet, like the sad bit of a story. No birds were singing at that unhappy hour. No wind stirred. For once, even the angry fairy was silent. The only sound was Jake breathing in and out. A bit weaker each time. Goodbye, Jake, sniffed Polly, burying her head in his fur. You was a good old boy, you was. Just then, somebody tapped on Polly's shoulder. She looked up to see a little boy she'd never seen before. Somehow, though, Polly felt as if she'd known him all of her life. A feeling of great peace and warmth spread through her, and it's a nightmare! It's that nightmare from the sweet shop, Mr. Gum said. How did he get in my garden? Turn again, Mr. Gum, said the little boy with his beautiful, honest face. Mr. Gum backed away, raising his hands as if it were a ghost. I don't like it one bit, he said, his voice starting to quiver. Coming out of nowhere, little boy, in my garden. I don't like it. I know you can be good again, said the boy, offering him another fruit chew. That was enough for Mr. Gum. He gave a terrified "Ah!" jumped over the fence and scooted off down the road, the boy's words ringing in his ears. The little boy turned to Polly. Child, he said, even though he was no older than she was, shouldn't have done that in a funny voice, listen carefully. You must zip into Mr. Yes, it's come back. I didn't know it was going to come back. I didn't know this. That was me talking. Listen carefully. You must zip into Mr. Gum's house and look inside the sailor's chest, which stands in the front hall. It is full of magic chocolate with fantastic powers, he whispered. Do not wait. Bring me as much as you can. Polly didn't wait to hear any more. She zipped into the house. There in the hallway stood the chest. It was the only beautiful thing in that lonely place, and it seemed to shine with hope and furniture polish. She threw the lid open, looked inside, and found nothing at all. the chest was completely empty. We're going to finish there. We're definitely 100% going to finish it next week, but I know I say I'm excited lots, and I know you don't believe me and it gets very boring, but I'm so excited because when I did this story plan, I put that chest in there. I had no idea, I promise you, I had no idea it was going to come back. I thought it was just Andy Stanton being a bit of a crazy author and just putting in random objects. But I kept talking about that chest and it has come back and I had no idea. I'm so excited. Anyway, we've finished now for today with the book. They've opened the chest. To save the dog, there's nothing in the chest. If you've read this book before, please do not tell people the ending. It will spoil it. We're now going to go into Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence before I burst with excitement. I had the 4 cards. The 4 cards said Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Someone picked one. Something happened and then we saw the reaction. Check this out. Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get to song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. Back again, everyone, for the next episode of Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Behind the curtain is Mrs. Boswell. She is very excited and nervous, all mixed into one. But will she get a cheer, a boo, a song or silence? She's chosen the card. Let's see what's going to happen. What do you think? I know her class are desperate to see this and her mum is pumped as well. Right, here we go. Out you come, Mrs. Boswell! Oh, it's always great when we get a song. I wonder what other teachers made of that. Let's look for the audience reaction. Oh, we love this bit, don't we? I showed that video of Mrs. Boswell getting a song to all the teachers in the school, and this is how some of them reacted. Mrs. Boswell! Out you come, Mrs. Boswell! Come, Mrs. Boswell! Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get to song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. I've only just recovered from finding out about the chest. I've just been to see Mrs. Stevens. Mrs. Stevens is just sat in her office doing some work and she's enjoyed the story, and I've just been in to tell her that I had no idea the chest was coming back and I'm so excited. I love books, I love authors, I love this school. Right, a few shout outs before we go. Happy birthday, Ava in year 5. A Remembrance Day birthday, a day that Ava will remember, I'm sure. Have a good day, Ava. Enjoy lots of time with family, as much as you can at the moment. Another shout out before we move on. I just want to say thank you to Naya in year 5. Naya and her brother won a lot of money to spend at the Oakleaf bookshop, and they won. Yesterday, Naya went to visit the bookshop with her class. And she was desperate for a book. She wanted the second book in the Who Let the Gods Out series. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, she was desperate for it. I only had 8 copies and I sold them all. And I had the last 2 copies and 3 children wanted them. And I said, I'm really sorry, I've only got 2 copies. Does somebody want to leave it and I'll get them a different one? And Naya just said, it's okay, I don't mind. They can have the books and I'll wait. And she said it without me kind of doing little puppy dog eyes, and without me kind of begging her, she just said it's okay, and she walked off, and I was so proud that she's someone who works hard and is kind, gave her friends a chance for the book. So thank you, Naya. I really appreciate those kind of things. And as you get older, and as we all get older, those little touches, those little moments really make a difference to people. So remember that. It costs no money to be polite and to be kind. Thank you, Naya. Let's finish with most important 60 seconds. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. Most important, it's very dark, isn't it? Most important 60 seconds. First of all, secret shop. We had a lot of money coming to school yesterday for children to get ready to buy presents for people at the secret shop. Most importantly, if you want to take part, that envelope needs to come into school before the end of the week. Also remember, the presents are mainly for adults. They're mainly for mum and dad type people. So please don't think you're going to come and buy presents for brothers and sisters and little babies. They might end up with something very odd. That's the first thing. Second thing, we should be back into home learning now. I went around all the classes yesterday to talk about rock stars and accelerated reader. Loads of you are cracking back on with it. Some of you aren't. Please remember what the home learning expectation is. We've made some bookmarks here. Really quick look. They're Stukeley home learning bookmarks. And if children aren't doing what they should be because they can't remember or they can't be bothered, which upsets me, this bookmark reminds you of the things you should be doing. And there's some information at the bottom to help families. If I give you this bookmark, it's my way of telling you you're not doing your home learning and you need to start, because we don't want you to miss time in school with your friends because you're catching up. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.